Oh no, Assassin's Creed, Nathan. This is the.
It's gone woke. It's gone woke.
We're coming for you guys. We're coming for you. Yeah.
Coming for you. Hi, I'm Nathan,
Hi guys, I'm Alan,
and
and
we
we
are
are
the
the
J-Cast.
J-Cast. The J.
We did
We were
better. We'll get it better.
We
We'll
are
get it there. We'll get it there. We'll get
1%
it there.
better, 2% better, maybe
No,
3.
5% better. I think it's better. You can be the judge. You can tell us. Anyway,
5% better.
hi everyone. I'm Nathan, and I'm joined in this joint podcasts by Alan, Japan, Ichiban, and boy oh boy, do we have an interesting one for you today. So as always, I'll just do a little quick introduction. I'm Nathan. You might know me as Ninja Monkey or Happy Gaijin. I make content traveling around Japan, mostly as a solo traveler. I create guides and anything that's related to travel planning for Japan. How about yourself, Alan?
Yeah, so I'm Alan. You may know me as Japan, Ichiban. I create content mainly on the Meta platform, so Facebook, Instagram, Threads. Although I do longer form videos on YouTube, which are walking Japan videos. And I've recently started branching to TikTok, trying to be down with the kids, Nathan. There we go, doing okay. But yeah, so basically I share I share pictures and videos of walking Japan. That's what I do.
Yeah, talking about TikTok, all of a sudden my TikTok is starting to take off. I don't know what's going on there, but it's happening. So, Alan, I've got an interesting dilemma that I want to talk about, and that is Sakura season is coming up. I thought we needed to talk about it. I'm going to miss it all
Yep.
completely, which in itself brings a little bit of FOMO and anxiety. And I'd like to know, really, like, I know you're going to Japan. I know that you're going to be in Japan towards the tail end of Sakura season. How are you
Yep.
planning around Sakura? What do you recommend people do?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question, Nathan. I mean, I think a lot as we know, Sakura is quite it's quite a fleeting period, isn't it? It lasts for a very short period of time. I think the main Sakura trees are basically start blooming, and then after a week they turn to full bloom, and then a week later they've gone. So you basically got a week of full bloom, maybe 7 to 8 days. But that depends on, as we know, whereabouts you are in Japan. So a lot of people do the golden route, so Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, and stuff. But if you think about it, Sakura actually travels with the weather as it migrates across Japan. So southern, more hotter areas in Japan will actually get Sakura much earlier than the cooler, more temperate areas further north. So
Although Tokyo is one of the first ones, surprisingly, even though
yeah,
it's because
well,
it's the way that Tokyo is situated.
well, that's a great point. It isn't a hard and fast rule, but there are plenty of resources online which we may or may not link somewhere in the description. But there's basically a national forecast which tells people, when and where and what parts of Japan the forecast will be. But as a general rule of thumb, it kind of goes west to east and then south to north as well, roughly. But please check that forecast anyway. So what I'm trying to do is I'm quite constricted in terms of when I can go to Japan because I travel with children. I'm a father of 2, and me and my wife travel as well. So there's 4 of us. So we have to travel in certain windows when that's available with the school. So I can only go as and when the school says we can, effectively. So what that means is I might potentially miss out on the cherry blossoms. Nathan, you may have similar things with this as well. We're both traveling term time, don't we, quite often. So what that means is if the period of time I've been given to actually go to Japan isn't when cherry blossoms are going to turn up, I then need to figure out around that how can I actually still see cherry blossoms while I'm in Japan. So this time round, I'm going to chase the cherry blossoms through Tohoku. So I'm going to land in Tokyo, which is quite a common thing for most people, I think. Probably the busiest airports in the world.
Definitely, you'll probably 99% of you, 90% of you are probably landing in Tokyo.
I think everybody. So. Yeah, Tokyo or Kansai, and that's probably everybody, let's be honest. But yeah, so I'm going to land in Tokyo. I'm catching just the end of Tokyo Bloom, which is just completely by accident, but that's fantastic for me. And then I'm going to travel up through northern Japan and chase the cherry blossoms as they carry on up through the different stages of northern Japan. I think I'm a cherry blossom chaser, like a storm chaser, but a pink cherry blossom storm chaser.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that when it comes to Sakura, you just need to be realistic and you just need to know that there's a big chance that you're not gonna, make it at the right dates. There's plenty of people that I know sent me messages saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be arriving I'm going to be leaving Japan on the 27th, 28th of March. Do you think I'll see
Yeah.
sakura, right? Like, you might get not the full bloom, but you might get a little bit. But also, it's very important to remember there's lots of different varieties of trees. It's
Yeah.
so many
100%.
early ones, late ones, and you'll probably see cherry blossoms after the main, peak and before. The only thing is, I'm going to be totally honest. I don't want to lie to people. When people think of sakura season, it's usually around that specific
It's the
date.
specific
Like
time, isn't it? Yeah, it's when that one tree blooms. There are
Yoshino.
Sakura and other ones which are earlier, and plum blossoms obviously join in on the fun as well. But you're completely right. Quite often, the main like Sakura tree that you see in Japan, and that's when it looks its most beautiful. Obviously, is just a 1 week window most of the time in full bloom. But fingers crossed. I mean, the great thing is, though, like we've just said, you can actually try and wiggle around that slightly. So if you get there and
We
it's
can.
not yet where you are,
Like me
you know, it's
myself, I knew from the very beginning this year
yeah,
Easter is a little bit late. It's a late Easter. Usually
yeah,
Easter is bang on and Sakura, but this year it's later, which means that effectively I miss the whole Sakura. I'll be arriving on the 13th. It's gonna be way gone in Tokyo,
yeah.
but that doesn't mean that I can't plan for a day trip, maybe to Nagano. I'm thinking Nagano around the 14th or
Nice.
the 15th or whatever, the 16th, around that time it will be peak
Mm.
in Nagano. So, moving on to something else, I wanted to ask you, and this is a really interesting one. I've been thinking about this quite a lot, and that
Yeah.
is, do you have any travel anxieties? Because I'm talking about
Oh yeah.
Sakura. Like I think that one of the big anxieties of travel is specifically if you're trying to travel around a specific time, like Sakura or the autumn leaves, a specific festival. Do you have any specific travel anxieties that you might want to talk about? I have a few.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, as like a father of two children, and obviously, there's my wife as well. I do all the planning for all of our trips. I'm the Japan nerd. Let's be honest. There's a reason why my office looks like this. So it's down to me to do all the planning. And I suppose there's an element of if it's a place I've never visited before, which I try and obviously do, try and visit somewhere new every time I go to Japan. I want to ensure everyone's having a good time as well. So if
Hmm.
I've not been, I hope it lives up to its expectations. And then you kind of searching articles online, you're looking on YouTube, has somebody already been there? Has someone on TikTok already been there? Who's trying to find places that you hope everybody would enjoy. And it's about finding that balance sometimes. The children enjoy different things to the adults and stuff, but I think we've got quite a good bag in, quite a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
variation in my family dynamic. So
I guess as a family, your anxieties are going to be very different. I've been
yeah,
putting together a little video about specifically that topic, like Japan travel anxieties. And I remember, and I'm not going to go into everything that's going to be in that video, but I remember one very specific one, which is a little bit of a silly one, and that is I remember my number one anxiety actually being, I was worried about liking the food or not liking the food, and I was actually
ah,
worried about
yeah.
whether or not I was going to offend anybody if I didn't eat the food or if I didn't like the food. That was like my number one anxiety. It's something that I think people don't really talk about, but
I
promise you,
think
like I'm not
it's
that
a
I'm a picky
reasonable thing.
eater, but
Well, you're completely right. It's a reasonable thing to have. And I suppose before you visited Japan, obviously me and you go quite often now. Nobody goes as often as you, Nathan, but I'm trying. I'm trying. But I think you hear before you go, you hear tales of this land where people are incredibly respectful to each other. The food's amazing and stuff, and that anxiety comes in there where you think, oh my god, someone spent all their effort and time in making this amazing dish, and they've been making it for 50 years or something. If I go to that restaurant and I don't like it, I really don't
yeah,
want to
I
upset the guy
mean,
behind, the patron behind as the
exactly.
patron,
It's
sorry, I
not
don't want to
just
upset the
that,
cook.
Alan.
Yeah.
It's a fact. I think for me personally, it was back in the day, 10, 11 years ago now. Like when I initially went to Japan, I was a little bit of a picky eater. I didn't really eat
Yeah.
seafood. I was really not into sushi. I was worried about raw fish. I was worried about
Mm-hmm.
hygiene and all sorts of things and raw egg and all sorts of
Yep.
things like that. And one of my biggest anxieties was specifically, like, was I going to be able to find food that I liked? What if I ended up having a dish in front of me that I didn't like? And I know that
Mm-hmm.
many of you watching this are going to be a little bit surprised because Japan has a reputation of having incredible food. But I have actually grown into the traveler that I am through many years and many, many trips. I'm
Yeah.
like back at the beginning. that was a real anxiety. Now I eat a lot more seafood. I eat matcha tea that I didn't really like at the time. Now I love,
Hmm.
lots
Yep.
of Japanese things that now I like. But back then I was a little bit apprehensive. Am I gonna like it? Am I gonna like it?
I
Oof,
think
it really stressed me
it's a
out,
fair
dude.
thing. Yeah, no, I think it's a really fair thing to say. It's quite a common question I have. You're probably very similar to me, Nathan. People see you as a bit of a Japan expert. I don't see myself as one, but people ask, you go all the time, Alan. Can you answer these questions
I'm
about
always
Japan? And
learning,
that's quite,
always learning,
yeah, yeah.
always.
Well, I think we both are. If anyone says they're an expert, they're lying.
Yeah,
Everyone can learn
exactly.
every single
Yeah.
day. But that's quite a common thing that people say. Oh, I don't really like sushi. What
Oh
could I
yeah.
eat when you're in Japan? And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
well, they
yeah.
have the best
Exactly. Yeah,
beef
it's
in the
true. It's true. That is
world.
true.
Yeah, the best fish. You don't have to have sushi. You can have like tempura, for example, or ramen, or yakitori. You can have a million different things in Japan. So you can have
Yeah,
an egg sandwich from a family mart, can't you, if you need to? So don't worry
yeah,
about that type of stuff. There's a million different things, but I suppose before you go, you don't always know these things. So
yeah.
that's
I
quite a
think knowledge
common
is
question I
key,
get. Mm.
and there's not enough videos on the internet or on YouTube to sort of take the place of experience. You can
Oh,
watch
100%.
100 Ninja Monkey videos. You can go on Facebook and read and look at a million different posts from Japan Ichiban. But the reality is that the experience that you will be getting, real life experience, that is
Yeah,
key. I mean, things that
that
I
beats
thought I was
everything
gonna
else.
like, I liked. Things that
Hmm.
I had high expectations for, they let me down. Things that I didn't have high expectations for really impressed me.
Hmm.
Um, and then in social media, there's a whole hype of Instagrammers showing certain areas. You go there, and then they're packed. That kind of
Well,
thing, you know.
just on that, I saw a really funny clip on, I think it was Threads or Instagram. It was only today, and someone was saying, if you want to eat like a local in Tokyo, go to this hidden area. It's called Omoide Yokocho. Like a hidden area. There's 3 million people go into Shinjuku Station next
Yeah,
door every single day. You
and you
cannot
know
trust
what?
everything you see on
That's a
social
huge
media.
problem as a content
Yep.
creator. Me
Hmm.
myself, like increasingly I'm wanting to show off more unique elements and areas and aspects to Japan that might not be common, but I'm
Yeah.
finding I put out a video recently about like less visited areas in Tokyo, and
Hmm.
I would say that the majority, most of them were less visited, but some of them are increasingly becoming more and more popular, and
Yeah.
they're not secret. Like
Oh
it's
no, I completely
crazy.
agree. Yeah, I completely. Well, if you remember when we were going to Japan maybe a decade ago or something else, places like Golden Gaijin was like, oh sorry, Golden Gai, apologies. Golden Gai was well,
Golden
actually,
Gaijin.
yeah, Golden Gai was like a relatively less known place for foreigners, but now it's wall to wall foreigners as well. So do you? I don't know if you have that same thing with me, Nathan. Do you actually want to reveal all your secret hidden spots in Tokyo or where else? Because
That's a good question.
you've got
That's
to
a really good question, Alan. And the
yeah.
answer is that increasingly yes, because I honestly think that first of all, I don't think my channel is so big that it's gonna make such a big impact to begin with.
Hmm.
Second of all, I actually am a person that genuinely wants to help people out, and I want people to
Yeah.
have the best experience. And if that means like showing off an area that's very unique and is quiet or whatever and hasn't been mentioned, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Now don't get me wrong, there are a few like izakayas and little gems of bars and little restaurants that I frequently go to, and I'll tell people like maybe on the Discord, or I'll tell
Yeah.
people maybe like face to face or in a live stream, but I won't make a feature video about it. But
No.
I think both of us, and what I love about generally like the community that we are both in, is that we
Hmm.
are surrounded by people that want to help other people, and that's a
Absolutely.
very special thing. We're not here like making a podcast. Yeah, we're making a podcast because it's fun and it's interesting and it's unique, obviously. But I think that ultimately we're making the podcast both coming from the same place, from the place of
Yeah.
wanting to help people get to Japan, know Japan better, and talk about Japan in mostly a positive light, most of the time anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to be pragmatic. Not everything is a positive light, is it, about Japan? Some things are
Yeah.
not as, as some things are probably perceived a little bit better than they seem to be. And I'm always reiterating that, yeah, Japan is a safe place, but don't completely let your guard down. There's lots of things like this where you have to be careful. There's no scams in Japan. There's certainly scams in Japan. So just, be
I
sensible.
mean,
There's probably
even I
less of a
just saw Chris
chance.
Broad got
Yeah, go on.
scammed with a taxi or something that they overcharged him in Kyoto. I was watching
Oh,
his podcast. We are the rival podcast here.
Chris Broad from Wish. That's me. I'll be American Pete.
Hey,
Hold on,
you're
I've got to do the
American
hair. I've
Pete
got to
from
do the hair.
Wish, and I'm no, wait a minute, no, he's on his podcast. It's not American Pete. On his podcast, it's
Oh, it's Pete Donaldson, isn't it?
Pete Donaldson, and he
he's
has a
the
similar accent
UK's.
to you, so it sort of works, I think.
Well, I'm going to buy the Toyota Century right now. My dream. Pete's actually got one of my dream cars, believe it or not. So, yeah,
You
I
are
was so
Pete. I'm gonna
jealous.
start. I'm gonna start calling you Pete, man.
Oh no, I'm happy with JJ. Don't call me Pete. But yeah, I suppose we
So,
are the
so
number 2 podcast. That's very good, Nevin. Good point.
number 2
Yeah,
podcast, and I'm happy being the number 2 podcast until we're
yeah.
the number 1 podcast, and then I'll be happier.
We're coming for you guys. We're coming for you. Yeah.
Coming for you. So basically, we're coming for you, Chris. Joke. I love
And
you.
Pete. Yeah.
I'm Pete. So I just read something recently about a shrine, Watazumi Shrine.
Right.
Okay, and Watazumi Shrine in Tsushima has banned tourists from entering due
Oh.
to ongoing issues. Banned tourists. But get this. This is a funny thing. They've banned tourists in the most Japanese way that you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of summarizing. I don't want to go into the whole article and all the information, but so basically, they banned people due to smoking, littering, spitting, and theft. All right. And
Theft, right.
previously, apparently theft. Previously, the shrine attempted to ban foreigners, but later they reversed their
The decision. Yeah.
stance, basically the decision. But
Yeah.
apparently, there's been some incidences recently involving some foreign tourists, and they've decided to extend a ban to anyone who is not a parishioner or a worshipper. Okay? Right?
Okay. Right.
Okay? But the shrine later clarified that respectful visitors with reverence for the site are still welcome.
Oh, right. So it's not. It's basically. I mean, that is the most Japanese way.
So
You're completely
basically,
right.
yeah.
It's the single most Japanese way of doing stuff. I mean, there's nothing wrong with
You're
reiterating
banned
the
if
rules.
you're naughty, but if you're not naughty,
Yeah.
you're not banned. Basically,
But
they're
as a
banning ill-mannered
naughty
tourists
people.
rather than travelers. It's just
Yeah, but-
weird.
I mean, as a Westerner, that's the agreement I think I already have with shrines and stuff. If I'm being ignorant or naughty or disrespectful, I would expect to be shown the door anyway. So there's no difference
How
to
would
me.
you feel if someone like Fushimi Inari all of a sudden said, no tourists allowed?
Well, I think it'd be a big shock for a lot of people. That's a very good question. That's a very good question. I really like the area.
I'll be okay because I've been a few times, right?
Yeah, as have I. You can watch the walking video. Is that Fushimi now? Oh no, that's somewhere else in Kyoto. But yeah, I've walked all the way up it with this camera, believe it or not. But I would like to visit again. In all fairness, I think it would be a shame. It would be a terrible shame that tourism has got to that point where now some of the fantastic gems of Japan are being withdrawn from people. People who would genuinely want to go and be respectful and enjoy that. Someone like me and you would both just go and look after it and be willing to donate or buy something in the local area. If that then that support that we give, which is hopefully financial, and,
I think there's a lot of there's a big
tough.
effect.
Yeah.
I can tell
Yeah.
you firsthand, actually, as somebody who traveled to Japan during COVID when the borders were closed. I actually
Yeah.
went to Fushimi Inari when the borders were closed, when there was literally 5%
nobody there.
of the tourists. There were some people, but it was literally like 5% of the people that would normally be there. And I remember speaking to a cafe owner, and and there was nobody in the cafe. He told me
Yeah.
that he opened up in the morning, and I was his second customer or his first customer, and this was like midday or something like that. And
Yeah.
he
So
and I
the
told
place
him that I
is
was filming,
dependent on it.
super. There are
Yeah.
places dependent on it. I am interested in possibly going back and interviewing the guy now, because I actually interviewed him back in
Oh, yeah.
2022 when the borders were closed, and I have him on camera basically pleading with the governor, the Japanese government, to open the borders and allow tourists
Please
back.
reopen. Yeah.
And I'm wondering what his stance is like now.
Yeah, I
So
mean, you would think probably as a cafe owner, they'd be very happy with the footfall, and that's some of the things I've probably noticed more locally in the UK, for example. Some of the seaside resorts and places like that, where when we've gone through things like austerity and people are struggling for cash and things like that, the places which are seen as like a treat, or places that are dependent on tourism, they then just falter and they're no longer there. That this is what happens. Cafes shut down, people lose their livelihoods. So there's a balance to be struck, I think, and that's the difficult side of all this. At the moment, it seems like there's no restraints at all from the Japanese government. It's
I
just
mean,
pile
how
everybody
can you
into the
even
country.
police it? This is
Yeah.
the problem. As at the end of the day,
What?
like I don't like to talk about like nuisance tourists, because I honestly think that 99% of tourists are actually good, and that we focus on the one or two that spoil it. But unfortunately, when there's 30 million people going in, 1% of 30 million is a hell of a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's the
that's true.
problem,
That's true.
really. Um,
I'm kind of hoping a bit of that will, the people who are going to Japan to be respectful, to enjoy the culture, to be like try and get enriched from Japan, presumably like me and you, Nathan, we will keep going to Japan. We go time and time again. The people who are going to Japan because they've seen it on TikTok or they've seen it on Instagram, and yeah, it's a great night out in this bar. Look, you can get drunk for £5 or something else, or $10.
but not
Hopefully,
everyone's like
those
that is the
people.
thing. And I think
Well,
those
they
people are
might.
also seasonal.
Yeah, well, I think they might get it out of the system. Like, oh yeah, I've been to Japan. What's next? Do I go somewhere else now? And that may mean those type of people, the nuisance ones that we're just talking about, this 1% of nuisance tourists, hopefully they'll dwindle in the future. But in terms of policing it, it's a really good point. What can you do? You can't stand on the side of the Fushimi and Harry Hill type of thing and click people in and out with a counter and say no, we're full now type of thing. That can't be done because you can get in from the backside of the hill anyway if you wanted
It's
to.
it's very
So
difficult, very very difficult. I
yeah,
mean, one of the things that I noticed also is in Meiji Jingu. So when
oh
I
yeah,
went to Meiji Jingu, you know that they graffitied Meiji Jingu, and it was a whole like headlines all around
yes,
the world, actually headlines all around the world,
hmm
because it was a big deal. It is one of Japan's most important like sites, spiritual
sacred
sites, sacred
places,
sites.
100%. Yeah,
And some tourists, I think it was, decided to graffiti their family name on the Torii Gate in the entrance. So when I went, it was shortly after that. It was literally a week after that, and they had basically put some wooden
like a fence.
like
Yeah,
fence around the Torii Gate, and it was really really. I mean, it wasn't too bad, but it was very sad that this was sort of destroying the view of this beautiful, incredibly gorgeous Torii Gate. And
I
now they've
completely agree.
actually updated that now. So now what they've done is they've put some, I believe it's some plastic perspex or something on the actual
Oh,
torii,
around the pillars then, around the pillar
around
itself,
the
right?
pillar. So there's no longer a fence. Now it's been protected by plastic, and you can't tell from far
Right.
away. You can't tell from far
Yeah.
away. You could tell because my friend told me, "Did you see the plastic surrounding?" And that was true. So that's
It's
a
just sad though,
interesting.
isn't it? Yeah, I understand now it'll be preserved, which is what we both want to think. But it's just sad it's got to that point. It's quite upsetting for somebody who really loves and enjoys Japan that we've got to the point where we have to do this type of babying of people to say no, right, you can no longer damage a sacred monument because we've stopped you being able to. We shouldn't get to that point. People should have that moral compass where they don't do this type of stuff.
I mean,
But
there
like
are
you
some
said,
countries.
well, I was going to say, well, like you said though, there's 30 million people, and if one person carves on a sacred shrine, it's obviously incredibly bad in international
That's the
news. So we
thing.
have to, yeah, we have to take it in context to an extent. There are another 29,900,000 plus people who are following the rules, some of which are me and you, for example.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's difficult,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Let's talk about Assassin's Creed.
Oh no, Assassin's Creed, Nathan. This is the, this is the. I knew you were going to talk about Assassin's Creed. Is it because I'm a gamer? Is this what it is? You like the video games as much as me? Ah no, the pen, the
It's
social
gone
media
woke.
pen.
It's gone woke. What do you think? Has it gone woke or has it not gone woke? What do you think? What's your opinion
I
here?
mean, it's a great question, and it's very much the topic of the time. Um, I think the guy it's based on is called Yosuke. Is that right? You know, the traditional story is Yosuke. Assassin's Creed has, you know, as a gamer now, I'm speaking for all the gamers in the world. You know, I was born in
Are you?
1985. Yeah, the same year as the NES came out for the Nintendo Entertainment System. So Assassin's Creed has always taken liberties with cultures. Greece, UK, you know, like all the Viking stuff it had. It's never been completely the same. Obviously, Italy as well. Um, but those are countries that don't mind. That's the problem. The UK doesn't mind someone takes the Mickey out of their history and stuff. Neither do some of the other countries when people take liberties and things like that. But Japan isn't that same country in my mind. Japan
It's
has,
had good
you know,
reviews, by the way. Like it's had like
it's
really
supposed to
good
be a very good
reviews.
game. I'm sure it's a good
Surprisingly,
game.
it's had very good
Yeah,
reviews.
I'm sure it's a good game. I'm not sure how many of those reviews Activision or whoever it is. I'm pretty sure it's Activision. Not sure how many of those reviews they've actually paid for. But but yeah, it's tough because the Assassin's Creed games are great, but that isn't the end of the story. That one section of that is there's a part of the game where you're supposed to destroy like a really famous Shinto shrine. That's literally your job to hack it to pieces.
I mean,
And I
there's
think
been a few controversial things. One of them is that
yeah,
the
yeah,
the
mhm,
the defacing the shrine. The
yeah.
second one is the race of the samurai, which, to be honest, I don't really care too much about.
Well,
But I
I think
understand
on that
people.
is
People,
yeah,
what do you think there?
well, I think on that, there's no historical proof either way of what happened. So people can argue as much as they want to do. It's kind of up to them. In all fairness, if
I
there's
think
no
that the
proof, there's
main
no proof.
issue
So yeah,
here is that it's the one game actually set in Japan where there's a
yeah,
samurai sort of in it, like as a main character, and everybody sort of thought, well, shouldn't you get like somebody that
a
represents what
Japanese
ninety
person.
nine point nine 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 percent of samurais would have been? Um,
Yeah.
Personally, I think there's that issue. There's the issue of the shrine, and the third issue that I was reading up, which is really interesting, is that some of the merch that is it
Yeah,
Ubisoft?
yeah,
So some of
yeah.
the merch is actually of a one-legged or one whatever
The
Tory gate.
Nagasaki
Have you heard about
Shrine.
this?
Yeah, the Nagasaki Tori Gate. Yeah, I've seen this. So that's
It's
incredibly
been
bad. So
recalled. Apparently, it's been recalled, and
yeah, but I mean,
so
just to think about
Ubisoft,
putting that out
go,
there, that's terrible to do.
yeah.
That's absolutely terrible. Yeah.
So Ubisoft have actually released a patch. So the
Oh,
patch
okay.
actually doesn't allow any the defacing of the shrine anymore.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Items that were movable in the shrine are no longer movable, and I don't think
Yeah.
there's going to be any blood or something with non-playable characters around the shrine or something like that. So
Also, you can't effectively kill them, type of
I'm
thing,
not
right?
very sure exactly, but they have patched it. The question that I'm not very sure about is whether or not they've patched it worldwide or they've just patched it in Japan. That's what I'm not very sure. I'm not very sure. I would hope that
Mhm.
they patched it worldwide. It would just make it so much, makes more sense, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of controversies around this. We have to be careful. It's the same type of thing we were just talking about with 1% of people coming to Japan being a nuisance. It could just be 1% of the gaming world piping up and being louder about their issues with this game, compared to everybody else. So you don't know how
I
many
mean,
people are actually upset about it. So
did
yeah,
you know that even the government had something to say about the game? The
the prime
Japanese
the prime
government.
minister was asked. Yeah,
The
I
prime
knew the prime
minister
minister was
said
asked.
that
Yeah.
it
Hmm.
added insult to the nation. I mean, this is like paraphrasing like a lot of what he said. A lot of people are
Yeah.
saying that maybe Ubisoft actually it was patch the game as a result of the government, the Japanese government, more than anything.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that the main issue here is that my understanding is, and you can tell me in the comments, I might be totally wrong. I'm putting my hands out saying that I don't know enough, but my
Yeah.
understanding is that they're trying to sell this game as a true recount of historical facts
Yes.
in
And that's
Japan, and that
yeah.
is the main issue. And I think that had they just decided to put in a random character that didn't fit in with
Yeah.
the
Fictional.
norms of
Hmm.
Japan, fictional, and made the whole thing fictional, there wouldn't have been a problem. But the moment that you try to make something true or real or based on true events, then they might be true events, but when somebody thinks of Japan, you think of a Japanese samurai. You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
Well, yeah, there's
like,
lots of things. There's lots of things to talk about like that. The whole like art of Bushido, the samurai way and all that type of stuff is a lifelong devotion. That's what people respect more than anything else. You start your samurai training when you're very, very young, and it takes you until you're quite old to actually become like an accredited samurai. That was the whole thing about it, wasn't it? And this Yasuki guy apparently turned up, and according to what was the name of the developer again? Sorry, not Activision. What they called the people who made the game,
Ubisoft,
Nathan?
Ubisoft.
Yeah, so according to Ubisoft, he was a fully fledged samurai within 1 year. There's no evidence to support that, so people don't like, twisting Japanese history. I completely agree with what you said. If they hadn't used people like Oda Nobunaga, really important historical people in Japanese culture, and just said, it's a random samurai lord,
Well, I
I
mean,
was a
even if they
daimyo
used
type
real
person.
people, just as long as they sort of say this story is a fictional story based in Japan. Full stop.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, like,
I think that would.
really.
I mean, I haven't played the game, you see, because I don't own a PlayStation. I'm an Xbox kind of type of guy, as you can probably see. But yeah,
Wow.
hidden behind there. So I haven't played the game. Now there are other games about feudal Japan, like Ghost of Tsushima and stuff like that, which are supposed to be absolutely fantastic. But those aren't necessarily accurate in terms of history, or they're not portrayed in that way. But I don't actually know if this game, when you start it, it says, by the way, everything is fiction, so just don't take it as read. This
I
is just
guess
a fun
like
game.
we're
Enjoy
two
yourself.
people here
Yeah,
talking about something that we don't know. Like really, the other
that's
day we're
true.
like we don't know what we're talking about in
That's
this
true, but
in
it's a hot
this
topic, isn't it, at the
instance.
moment in time? Yeah, and I
I
think
just thought it would be
opinion of
important to talk about it.
yeah, I agree. Opinion of seasoned Japan travelers is useful with this type of stuff as well. I think what the Prime Minister said about defacing shrines rings true no matter what. So that isn't something that should happen in Japan, as we know. And like promoting it almost in a video game doesn't feel right either. So that's something
Hmm.
I would take issue with. I mean, if it was a game about the UK where I'm from and someone, is defacing the Houses of Parliament, for example, or Buckingham Palace, I probably wouldn't care. But that's just the way people in Great Britain are. We don't really care that much, fairness. We don't take ourselves too seriously, I think. So that's the thing. Nathan, while we're talking, should I show you my drink for the day? I don't know if you noticed this down here in the corner. So
Show me.
I've got myself a nice
I'm gonna be jealous. This is the
Fanta
thing.
grape
I don't want to look at it because I'm gonna be jealess. Because
with a
I
nice,
absolutely love Fanta grape. This is the thing.
yeah.
I love Fanta grape, Japanese grape Fanta.
Yeah, it's fantastically good, and thankfully my wife saw one, so she bought it for me here in the UK.
Where?
Absolutely fantastic. Oh, and it smells just the same as it does in Japan, Nathan. It's so
Well,
good.
because it's Japanese, right?
Kanpai.
Damn
Oh
it!
wow,
I want it.
so
I
nice.
want it.
Yeah, I suppose
But
it's
I'll
worth
be
our
in
point.
Japan soon. I'll be in Japan soon. So
That's just what I was going to say. We're both heading to Japan soon, aren't we, as well, Nathan? So maybe our next podcast chat, we can talk about what we've done in Japan, and how we did. I can comment back about my cherry blossom chasing, see how well it did.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, on that
yeah,
note, I wanted to also say, if you have any questions, we don't really have many questions from the last podcast. This is the
all right,
thing.
okay,
But
yeah,
if you have any questions, then please leave them below. Like, leave some questions for us so that we can actually answer them in the
yeah,
podcasts. Really, really, really. I know that one of the questions, and I'm going to ask you once again, is there going to be an audio version of this podcast?
yeah. That's a great question. Thanks for asking that again, Nathan. So yes, there is. So I've looked into this over the last few weeks, and basically I need to create an RSS account, which I've now done. You've created the audio-only versions of these streams. So what we'll do is we'll marry the two together and put them on Spotify first, and then we'll think about other other podcast platforms probably in the future as well. So yeah, that's all pretty good.
Okay,
I think we'll be okay.
I'm leaving that to that. I'm leaving you to sort that out. So
Yep.
anyway, it's been a good one. I think we've covered quite a few interesting topics in this one. And if you want us to cover
Absolutely.
any other topics, please let us know in the comment section. By the way it works is that we take it in turns to sort of research and ask each other questions. So next time, it's going to be Alan doing it, and we just take it in turns.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thanks very much, everybody, for following and watching like you've done the last few times. And I think that's it, Nathan, right?
Yeah.
Anything else to say? Any closing thoughts? Or are we just saying bye-bye?
No. Just don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notifications and like and all that kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, we are competing with one of the biggest Japan content creators podcasts.
Yep.
It's the truth. It's the truth. I mean, we can't really
truth,
compete, to be honest. Like they are great. Their podcast is great. Their content is great. But we could try.
But I think we have a different angle, Nathan. We do have a different angle on this stuff. And don't forget, me and you combined. I mean, I know Chris has been creating content in Japan for a long time, but you've been creating content in Japan for a long time as well. And as have I, to an extent as well. So we do have a lot of experience with this type of stuff. So.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. I mean, if you like listening about, if you like to listen about Japan stuff, you like to watch like people talking about Japan, interesting topics. It doesn't matter who you're watching as long as you're enjoying it, and hopefully you've enjoyed this one. So on that note, thanks for watching.
You've been Nathan, and I've been Alan. But thanks for watching, guys.
I've been Nathan.
We've got to work on the outro. We have to work on the outro. But I've been Alan.
Nathan.
I've been Alan.
Wait. I've been Nathan.
And I've been Alan.
And this has been
and we've been the J-Cast. Yay! Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.